Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's daily brief. Happy Monday morning, TGIM, and all that. Had a really weird experience, so a little discombobulated today. But I was abruptly informed yesterday that I had a doctor's appointment this morning. And trying to see a doctor here in Canada is like hen's teeth. So a little bit frazzled, but nonetheless, was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for opening range trades first thing Monday morning. And Chris and I went to, what did I do? Two stops at, actually, I think all three of my opening range trades were all stopped at scratch. I took one of Chris's first minute opening range trades and two of my pre 5 minute opening range trades. And even though technically all the setups were stopped at scratch, I still had the audacity to be down. I think about, let's see, $6 loss on my first trade, $18 loss on my second trade. Terrible slippage. And oh, wait a minute, I'm probably showing the wrong. Am I back on the screen? Sorry about that. And a $21 loss on my third trade, even though theoretically they were all stopped at scratch. So anyway, it's kind of day it is, I suppose. Lost down about 40, $50. I can live with that. It is Monday. So we should always sort of take Mondays with a big grain of salt. Had a pretty big pop there on Friday. Was it due to options expiration and derivatives? Was it due to the simple fact that it looks like the U.S. Federal Reserve cranking up short-term interest rates has sort of put the runaway inflation genie back in the bottle? Tough to say. I do see, it's fascinating. I see local retailers here, just locally in this screwy Vancouver market. Some of the local people are like, hey, inflation busters, we're going to discount prices here because we want your business and all that. So, it's interesting. And yet you go to like big multinational corporations and, Liam loves his McDonald's. And we always order exactly the same thing for him. And literally McDonald's decided to raise their prices again. So it's sort of like, how much of this inflation is actually really people on the ground doing it, or it's a coordinated, colluded effort by, multinationals and stuff like this to try and ramp up profit margins. My hunch is it's more the latter than the former. But anyway, well, interesting to see how this plays out going forward. I even see now that a local retailer actually has a burger, which is probably a hell of a lot better for you than McDonald's, actually less expensive than McDonald's. And McDonald's is supposed to be shit. So go figure. Anyway, I will see if I can convince Liam to consider other retailers going forward. Good luck. Anyway, I did have a very enjoyable weekend with Liam. And thank you, everybody, with the Broiler Chicken Show, who passed on best wishes. And, of course, congratulations to William, our contest winner. In fact, I think he even put a tweet out to that effect. I thought I put the tweet in the lounge, but it turns out I sent this image to, I think, like our day trader room or something. Anyway, I think... big shout out to William. Not quite sure who William is, but Chris said that he will try to reach out to William. Let him know he won a seat in the level 1 program. So way to go, William. Because it's Monday, of course, I always want to take what we see in the market, a little bit of grain of salt. And actually, opening range trades today actually doesn't surprise me, a little bit herky jerky. Interesting how our breadth model and the breadth indicator, very, very uppy. That's a pretty powerful signal there. And also too, we had a little bit of a hiccup there with the crypto breadth indicator. I don't know whether this is a function of our funny data sets. We're having a little bit of a problem here with the APIs there a week or so ago with the various different exchanges and stuff. You can see we had a little bit of a head fake to the downside. I just don't know whether that was actually real or not. Anyway, we recalculated last Friday, and the fast crossed back above the slow, as you can see here. Probably actually better to show you off of this image. And so every quarter I like to try new trading plans. I like to try and be the demonstrator of best practices. Years gone by, I've done everything. Chris, do you remember the I want to be a day trader model that I did?
do.
I ran that for a while.
It's also a script for it too.
Yeah. And Sharktoshi, he really warmed to that idea. Anyway, so years in, years out, as time goes by, I'm always, almost every new sort of quarter, or probably every, trimester with the school program, I'm always kicking around new setups. And so this particular quarter, on top of the fact that Chris and I are doing the opening range trade setup in gold, crude oil, and the stock market, and just taking every single trade, and we're just accumulating data right now just to see if this is even a justifiable business model. At the same time, too, I've made a commitment that I will basically take every single crypto breadth signal trade, and I'm going to use Bitcoin as my proxy there. And this sometimes happens with algos. This actually is not really that big of a surprise. I mean, you don't like it, but it's not that big of a surprise where you get like a sell, then instantly reverses and buy. Now, I don't know whether this was a function of our screwy data or whether it was just, the market just doing its thing. Regardless, I did liquidate the position. And think on the spreadsheet, I know I did put it in Brian's big fat bot room, but I'm also tracking it on a nice little spreadsheet here. So on the weekend, of course, when we got that signal Friday that the market crashed back bullish, I went and simply just bought the position back. 16,924 was my re-entry. And I thought it was interesting that I think it was Andrew, but I'm not totally positive. I want to say Andrew, but anyway, somebody in the lounge yesterday had pointed out that, gee whiz, sure looks like we got bullish bot setups firing on Bitcoin. And, I sort of, mused through the data whether, there's that chart. I don't know which one it is. Yeah, maybe it's this one right here. Yeah, there it is. What a pretty little setup. Holy moly. Absolutely perfect. Got to say, this is exactly why you're here. You're here to learn that, your opinion's not really relevant. Most of the time, most opinions are completely wrong. And, the tragedy of it all is, I don't know where the best place to show you this is. I guess I'll just do a new one because I don't want to screw this up. If you just looked at Bitcoin, just and you'd asked anybody in the space there, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, what do you think is going to happen? Right? I think basically the sentiment was straight down. We're going to zero. Well, maybe not zero. So what does the market do? Well, the market says, to hell with you. I want a rally. It's not a huge rally. I mean, we're like 1 1/3%. But nonetheless, this thing looks like it's trying to W out down here at the bottom end of the range. We'll see how this goes. What I'll just simply say is, interestingly enough, this particular trading plan, it's more just simply about, and actually this is the document the image, right, that I posted in the Brian's Big Fat Bot and in my trading journal and all that kind of stuff. We had the signal. There was TRI admin crypto long. So crypto top 30 long there. So there is the trade. And I just want this to be full disclosure for you guys. No bullshit. Just trade my plan. So there was the trade execution on Binance. I mean, the irony of it all is that they might find that the plan works really well, but it turns out Binance and it's gone. And Binance disappears in the next 6-8 months. Who knows? Live by the sword, die by the sword. Don't have a lot of money on the Binance exchange. I think it's about 5-10 G's. Actually, I think it's about 10-15 G's, something like that. Now I don't know what the heck I've done here. Silly computers. Let's see if I hit the back button. There we go. All right. So the point is that market looks like it's pointing back to the upside. Algo, I'm following the algo here religiously this particular term. So it told me to get back in. So basically I'm back on the long side. And what it kind of looks like to me, I suppose, this looks like a big fat W. So that's implying 2.618s to the upside, good old Feigenbaums. And you could probably draw a nice little reload zone off of this range. And what do you think the odds are that Feigenbaum is right in that reload zone? I bet probably pretty good. There we go. So 2.618s line up nicely with 786s, which line up nicely with candle body highs. I got a funny feeling that's probably where we're headed. Not quite sure what this is in reference to. We'll get rid of that. And actually on this chart, I've even denoted, this is where I originally executed the exit. And I actually bought the Bitcoins down here on the first signal, which actually, I mean, that was December 22nd, right? So that was down in here. That was a pretty damn good signal. I mean, that was slick getting in long off of that. And I think you watched Paul like on Wednesday. I think he said he went and bought that Mountain Man level. Consolidation had a little bit of a head fake inside bar fail. Like we said, algo sort of flashed a quick little sell here. So hopped off and then the algo flipped back bullish. And so, I bit them, $10, $20. Well, actually, this was about $100, $200. But bit the bullet, jumped right back in, and now we're back on the long side. I'm not even quite sure exactly how I'm going to use this in the context of my overall sort of trade setup, 3 reasons for a trade. I know that Josh, for example, he likes to hunt setups on the signals. So we might argue, and this is sort of coming back to that original image, we might argue that that really this was the trade setup following that bullish reversal there on Friday. And I got to say, wow, what a move. The bot setup as you go long 25, and we had kind of even pointed out in the broiler chickens, and I even put out a tweet after the fact saying, this is exactly what we talked about in the broiler chickens, like literally to the letter. And we just simply said, like, I don't know what the heck's going to happen, but when I get 3 higher lows and I get an initial move, this paints the bot levels. You buy at 16,994. And in this particular case, there was a big pop up and then it just melted right back, took out one of the lows, didn't take out the second low, didn't even come close to the third low, and then turned around and just went ratcheting straight up. If I was trading this on my own, I would probably maybe think about like selling 3/4 of the position at this 17,260 area, and then maybe trail the other quarter, because you never know, or a third or whatever, because you never know. I mean, the market, look at what the market's doing here now. You just don't know. And I always like to have a little bit of a runner on. These ABCDs quite often, they will either head up to the 127.2 or even 1.618, 17,641 up here as what they call alt ABCD harmonic patterns. So you can see we're basically at the 127.2 now. I suppose you could even argue there's an ABCD working off of this range, although it'd be a little bit fast to actually create a bot setup off of. And then, like I said, if we go back to that chart that I was showing you there just a few minutes ago from the the weekly shows that we do. This is the one that I sort of had on Wednesday. I think you got a pretty good chance that we're going to rally up. That's 17,975, 17,930. There is 17,500. Good old mountain man. I'd say, candle body highs for trade location. You've heard Brian talk about that lots. That's pretty big level right there. My hunch is we're probably gonna, that's a bit of open room. If anything, this is a really, really good example of look left, right? And we have the consolidation. We broke through the highs. So now you're like, okay, well, look left. Where's the next stop on this? And really, it's all the way up into here. We talk about wicks and tails like to be eaten. So, in fact, actually, we could probably even just put that right along there. My hunch is, well, that's it. That's our altcoin. Let's go typical normal reload zone. My hunch here is we're heading up top in a hurry. It's quite, and if anything, thought it was interesting. We were somebody on the site shared Larry Williams' sort of annual forecast video, which is really just a shill for his product. But well, it is what it is. But within that, he did make a couple references that he thought actually this could be a pretty big year coming out the backside. If we, take a step back, aside from, and crypto is a good leading indicator, probably a lot of NASDAQ, a lot of tech stocks, they're going to be looking like this as well. If we take a step back and think sort of January barometer kind of stuff, I like to just, do an overview of what the heck's going on in the market, January barometer kind of thing. That's like a screen like this. Just give us an idea of what the market's sort of feeling here through January. Now we're through the first day, the first hour, the first week. If anything, now we have the first week's data of the sector rotation. So we should be able to get a pretty good idea of what the fund managers are thinking. And I got a funny feeling the fund managers are coming in on the long side, So now, next big objective on the 20th of the month, we have options expiry. This is a big one. This is the leaps. So we could potentially look at that as well. But really, I mean, this is 1, 2, 3 weeks and a couple days where we're kind of in no man's land. We're going to be waffling around. I'm sure there's probably a Fed meeting somewhere in here. There's probably key inflation data points that are going to come out. And then, of course, there's what the hell's going on in the rest of the world. What's Vladdy up to? What's Winnie the Pooh up to? I hear the guy down in Brazil tried to pull a Donald Trump. And I wonder if you losing an election and then trying to start an insurrection, whether it will be called, hey, you're trying to pull a Trump. That wouldn't surprise me over the course of time. He gets labeled that label. It wouldn't surprise me one bit, folks. Anyway, so the point here is, and actually, I do like this. I mean, you can see, here's our sort of first day, and you can see how the stock market sort of ebbed and flowed and then worked its way higher. And then you can see, actually, this is the stock market up top here, and this is Bitcoin. I mean, you can see the similarities are quite shocking. I really do think that Bitcoin will actually move with sort of the tech sector now. You might even find that Bitcoin and Ethereum actually sort of get incorporated into the tech sort of vernacular. It's just another tech proxy. And of course, we've talked about how would Bitcoin transition from the fear cycle, where I think it worked beautifully to offset the destruction of these fiat currencies that has happened here through this fear cycle, which I think is actually very cliche, very normal, very typical, fourth turning, right? Any of you guys who are fans of that stuff. And I think that the Bushes put all this in place, especially Mr. Senior Bush in his CIA director days. I remember he was the vice president under Ronald Reagan when Reagan came to power in the 80s and justified budget, budget deficits, which really should never happen. The only reason why it has happened is because this, of course, plays perfectly into the banksters' hands. And we're now all basically slaves of the banking class. And I think to a certain degree, Mr. Reagan kind of didn't want to do that at the beginning, but the bankers basically set up an assassination attempt on his life, just to remind him who's actually in control of these human species, the banksters. So that is the world that we live in. And my hunch is that George Bush Sr. and all of his cronies, everybody, Condoleezza Rice is director of ExxonMobil. You can imagine that she's not very happy about the way that the Obama presidency and then, now this doofus Biden and stuff, the way that they're just completely destroying the oil industry in the States. Obviously the Bush family and their intimate relationship with Saudi Arabia, that all ended when the king died there. Now it's sort of a free for all over there now. The list goes on and on. Cheney was the CEO of Halliburton, one of the biggest oil services companies. So you can imagine he was pretty choked. Following that 2008, when they all left and they made a fortune, of course, in the oil industry through that presidency. So the point being that I believe that they all knew full well what was about to happen to the US dollar and the hegemony system. And really what I mean by that is the fiat currency system, the dilution of the value of the currency system, this hyperinflation world that we live in. They knew that that was coming, and I think that they created Bitcoin to facilitate an asset that would give them the ability to completely offset all the inflation effects. And also notice too, whenever we go through these scandal cycles, you do not hear a single person say anything negative about Bitcoin. No one, not a single person. I hear lots of shitting, of course, on, shit coins and these centralized exchanges. Lots of sort of humming and hawing about NFTs and, the future of that. But not a single negative comment about Bitcoin, which to me means that the 1% is heavily long Bitcoin, using it as a hedge, and it ain't going anywhere. Anyway. What you might find here, though, is that the narrative around Bitcoin and around things like Ethereum, smart contracts, all that kind of stuff, the narrative changes from a store of value to actually, they're going to transition the whole damn space into POS. And then what I found really interesting is that if you listen to Chico, he says that there's a whole bunch of protocols that are going to come out that are going to make, just because you stake Ethereum, it's going to make it with these other protocols. I don't know the names in particular, but it's going to make it almost impossible for anybody to actually, like, quote unquote, take over the network. So, of course, what'll end up happening is as these protocols start coming out, and gee whiz, here we are in the bottoming part of the cycle, pull up Ben's time fib window. I mean, this is the time to be buying this stuff. So by time that these new protocols start coming out and stuff, we'll be fully into the next cycle. And my suggestion is, if you can, especially some of you people with deeper pockets, go get those 32 Bitcoin or 32 Ethereums and start staking. And if I'm not mistaken, there'll be a whole bunch of different airdrops that are all going to be spat out. And those are the assets in this next coming crypto bull that are going to go 100x, 1000x, and buy your Lambos and the whole damn thing. So it's fascinating how all this stuff does is just moves in a big circle over and over and over and over. Also, too, an interesting sort of circular pattern. I don't know why, but I'm now actually starting to see a bunch of TRI OGs all starting to slowly trickle back on the site. And I thought that was fascinating. It's great to see Dan back in the lounge. Of course, he's got a little one, so he's not the big playboy anymore. But kind of cool. He posted the video. I don't know whether I'm allowed to do this or not, but maybe we'll do this for the after show. This is supposed to be a summary, right? And I don't know how good of a job I'm doing here today. What's that? All right. So bottom line here about this whole conversation, I think this is usable information for you. I think you can definitely use the correlation between the stock market and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I think that's going to be a model workable going forward. Fog and bombs, we could probably even do fog and bombs off of the stock market here. It looks to me like we've got a little bit more room to the upside here. You can see fog and bombs on Bitcoin. Actually, this is the S&P, beg your pardon. 4,000, big fat round number. So that makes a lot of sense. And absolutely insane blow off tops take us all the way up to 4,100 for another 5% on top of that. It wouldn't surprise me, folks. I mean, keep in mind, we have to get used to the new pricing model that these crooks have all put into place, aka the banksters. On something like Bitcoin, near-term upside objectives, like we said, we got a number of objectives up in the high 17s. Yeah, if we get a real head of steam behind us, I could very easily see a serious stab up into 18.5 area. But let's cross this high 17s level first, because I think that's going to be a bit of a barrier. In the news, as I said, the only thing that really jumped out at me, I suppose, was in Brazil. Of course, they're having a whole bunch of wranglings about, I did one of the politicians down there who kind of was chummy with Trump, a very similar type person. He's trying to do the same sort of thing that Trump did here, and now they're all up in arms about all that. As we had sort of feared, China just doesn't give a about COVID anymore. I mean, really, this is all just an absolute joke what's happening here. The question is, how many millions of people are going to die? If we say that 1%, over here, we joke, 1% of the people that get sick are going to die. Okay, well, that's not that big of a deal. But just here, right? This is Henan. I don't know what that must be, a province. 88 million people? Seriously? So 1%, we're talking like 880,000 people are going to tip over. Oh, goodness. And what bothers me a lot is that these Western governments and stuff are like, no, well, we'll just see what happens. So this is such a great analogy of we're setting ourselves up for failure. We really are. But anyway, so be forewarned. My hunch is market moves higher until this starts to spill over into the West, and then everybody in the West is going to start to freak out like we've seen a couple years ago. Other than that, nothing really dramatic really jumps out at me. Just sort of ho-hum business as usual. Big corporations, of course, raising prices, and the rich are very, very wealthy right now, so they're feeling very happy. If anything, you could argue that the divide between the rich and the poor is going to get wider and wider and wider. And I had actually made a prediction years ago that we were going to move towards that sort of Dickinsonian capitalism, right? And think of Scrooge. So our society, you can literally see it happening. Our society is that K economy. You look through the streets of Seattle and stuff I saw in the news. I mean, they are literally thousands of people living in tents along the streets. And I would imagine if you went city to city to city, the numbers are probably in the millions. And yet, Rolls Royce rides ongoing luxury demand to sales record. So I hate to say it, everybody, but this is basically our future. Anyway. On a positive note, I mean, I suppose if you are a risk taker out in the market, I was shocked to see And what a great analogy of this. Don't get into the business of predicting. Nobody was calling for this. Although it looks like this is not updating. Sure. If we go, I think I can find it elsewhere on the site. There's LTC over here. Let's see if we can get it here. This is in British pounds, which is interesting. Good old Litecoin is just going for it here. And, there's Zugi in the lounge. Zugi, of course, gave me that FXS idea, and that thing's just rocking. And of course, little Sushi actually went and had the audacity, in the face of all the FUD. When I went out and I'd say, like, well, I bought this sushi and I'm going to risk against these lows, people were literally laughing at me. But you can now see this is absolutely beautiful example of exactly what we teach at TRI. So you can see the reload zones. And I swear, I think going forward, got to get together with Grim, but we should create like a little model, like a venture cap reload zone, 78.6 to 88.6. Because look at these W's in here. And of course, look at this beautiful W right off the 88.6. So, this is the kind of market we're in. If you are professional risk takers, then you got to step in and you got to buy these W's at 88.6s when they happen. And look at what's going on here. So, if anything, things are looking a little brighter in speculation land. So, if anything, that's probably a good note to lead off on. Maybe tomorrow or even in the after show, we can take a look at some crypto stocks. Some people were telling me that Marathon, a lot of insiders are coming in heavy on the long side. I did hop off of this one. If I get a nice W come in here, I might step back in. You do see that we actually have a Joby gap set up happening here, but I'm seeing a little bit of positivity in this space. So get out there, hunt your setups, whether it be crypto stocks, regular stock market. This is a biotech stock. Look at that. It's gapping higher today. So it looks like I'd say game on. So with that said, I think we'll probably leave the daily brief at that. Lots of green on your screen. Get out there and hunt your setups. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. And the only thing left for Brian to say at this point is a big bye for now.